Good morning, everybody. I'm here with the amazing psychic Liz Cross. How are you doing today?
It's Thanksgiving. I'm getting ready to start cooking. How are you?
Boy, yeah, Thanksgiving. I just had my breakfast. I'm feeling good. No turkey here, though. No
And
turkey.
no?
No, I
Do
had.
you actually eat turkey? Because some people claim that after eating turkey, and I agree, like you feel so lethargic. It's awful. What is that?
It's tryptophan, which is an amino acid that's abundant in turkey, and it can give you like a really calming effect. And in some cases, maybe you've had way too much and you're in a turkey coma. So, yeah, it's just the amino acid that's having the effect for the most part. Do I like turkey? Obviously, I want to get a good free range turkey that's not like in a cage and being fed crappy food and diet. And then I would definitely have the turkey in the holidays. They have the regular turkey here, but they also have like a native like turkey that's to this area also, which is interesting. I can't really taste the difference too much, but they definitely look different.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. It's bizarre. I mean, it almost puts me off eating any turkey because I don't want to pass out afterwards.
Yeah, I
May
only
have
get that
a
effect if I
bite.
eat like an enormous amount,
Mm. Oh my goodness.
which
So,
happens from time to time.
what have you got lined up for us today, Mr. Photon? Another health probe. Thank you.
Yes, we're going to look into the frequency of different clothing fabrics that we wear or we're exposed to. So there was a study done way back in 2003 with this machine that I have on my screen here that measures the frequency. I think this is used in the agricultural industry, but this researcher, I think her name is Dr. Yellen, um, she applied this to first the human body to figure out what kind of frequency the human body was giving off from this machine to kind of get like a baseline of what the human body resonates at. And then she wanted to know the different frequencies of the fabrics that we wear on a day-to-day basis. And I think this was drawing on like there's ancient wisdom around what kind of clothing materials you should wear. Like I believe in maybe the Hebrew tradition, it was said that you should not wear linen and cotton at the same time.
Mhm.
So that's one that I remember. So what she did is she got the baseline. So humans scored like 100 on the machine, and then she went to the different materials and found that the inorganic materials like the polyester and like the latex and all the stuff that we wear, it was equivalent to a cadaver, like the same frequency you would get from a cadaver, so a dead body. And so the theory is that if you're wearing the inorganic materials, not only you're not getting energy from the material, but you're actually energy is being sucked away. So we're going to kind of probe if that's true or not, right? Because we're measuring with this machine, but it's not the end all be all. It's only as good as the machine is. So hopefully we can get some better information. We're going to bring in Mei Wen Ho, our regular health expert and guru,
Mhm.
to help us out. And we're happy to have her here with us. And we want to ask about, we're going to go through some of the different clothing. So first of all, is she familiar with this machine, and how well is it at measuring these frequencies? Is it a viable method to measure the frequency of these fabrics and the human body?
How familiar are you with this machine? Very familiar. And is it an accurate way to to measure? She says no.
Is it like obviously it's not the best thing you can use, but does it give you some sort of idea or a trend or in the direction of something that's positive or negative to us?
Does it give you some sort of idea of a trend that is positive? Yes, it gives you the trend. It does tell you whether something is positive or negative.
Okay, that's good. I didn't think it would be that,
Yeah.
all because obviously all of our equipment is going to be very limited to its scope of how much it can measure. So I think that's the idea of this thing is it just gives you that direction. Okay, so let's get into it then. So we know what the scores were for the machine. So linen actually scored the highest,
Mm,
followed by organic cotton. So it's important that if it's linen or cotton, they can't have any sort of dyes or chemicals or be treated in any way. It has to be the natural material.
mm,
Otherwise, it didn't score as high, right? So it's got to be the real deal. And then we know that the inorganic ones like polyester, rayon, non-organic cotton, we can go down the list of all the different materials that we wear. They actually scored as almost like a net negative. So can we ask Mei Wen Ho, those inorganic materials that I just listed off, most of the things that all of us are wearing right now, is there a drawing away of energy? Is there like a negative impact where it's drawing energy away from us and making us weaker, if you will?
is it a negative impact where it's drawing energy away from us? It can do, yes.
Okay. And
Mm,
is it true on the other end of the scale? So the linen, which scored the highest on this machine, right? There's no linen that's not being treated with anything, no chemical agents or anything like that. Is it giving us energy back to the system, like adding energy?
is it giving us energy back to the system? No.
Okay. Is it creating a more harmonious energetic field with the human body?
Is it creating a more harmonious field with? Yes, it is.
Hmm. Okay, so it's not necessarily giving us superpowers, but it's helping us maintain homeostasis. Okay.
Helping us maintain homie. Yes.
Okay. And let's just ask, the old the tale of wearing linen and cotton at the same time. Does that have a negative effect?
Of wearing linen and cotton at the same time. Does that have a negative effect? I'm getting a no on that.
Okay, how about this? Can we ask it a different way? Can we ask if it is negating the beneficial effects of wearing?
Is it negating the beneficial effects of wearing? No, I don't know why that has come about in like religious terms. Do we know the root of that?
No, I don't actually. Can we ask why that was set so long ago? Is that a wives' tale, or is there some truth to that? It's for some other reason.
Is there like what was that about? Like what is that? It's almost so okay, I've looked it up here. It's Deuteronomy 22:11. You shall not wear cloth combining wool and linen.
Hmm.
So I've got to ask. I'm
Hmm.
sorry.
Yeah.
Uh so what was this? This was about okay. And it is, I do believe it is Jewish. So it's almost about like identifying markers, as in, how do we know way back when if these people are our people, right? Because there was so much persecution and so much infighting and so, so much people in that shouldn't be there and that would turn against the Jews is what I'm getting.
Hmm.
It was an identifying marker.
Hmm.
And it was sort of an unspoken identifying marker. If you read the Torah, is what I'm getting, and you knew the Torah and you studied the Torah religiously, you knew that this was a Jewish law. This was a
Okay.
commandment. This was, and then the Torah, there's, I believe, like 613 commandments, right? There's not
Yeah.
this 10 commandments that the Christianity is very, there's a lot of strict things about Judaism. So 613 commandments. So was this one of them? Yes, it was. And it was more in the time, it was more of an identification factor.
Okay. That makes sense. So it's cultural, not you weren't going to get stricken down by source for wearing cotton and linen. Uh,
No. Can I ask Source a question? So
sure.
why was this given down to the Jewish people? It was all about survival. Source is saying again, survival. Okay, but would you look down upon anyone that wore a combination of linen and what is it, linen and cotton or linen and wool?
Linen and cotton, I believe.
Would you look down? Oh, you shall not wear cloth combining wool and linen. Okay. Would you look down on anybody that does? Absolutely not. No.
Okay. All right, so let's get into asking specifically like which ones are the best ones to wear. So from the machine, the linen scored 5,000, and then organic cotton scored 100, which is what the human body measured on the machine as well. So is linen the best fabric that we currently wear right now on human beings?
Hmm. No.
Okay. Is cotton the best?
Is
Organic
cotton the
cotton.
best? Cotton is the closest you can get to optimum frequency and optimum vibration.
Right. So that's what the machine was saying, that it resonated at
Oh,
the same frequency as the human body. But then I have to ask, because linen was vibrating at a higher frequency, it seemed, according to the machine, is that less beneficial, or does it have a different benefit to wearing linen?
is there a different benefit to wearing linen? It's actually less beneficial than cotton, is what I'm getting.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
mm,
Interesting. Okay. All right. Um, Silk also surprisingly scored really low on the machine. It scored a frequency of 10. Is silk not a good thing comparatively to the others to wear?
silk. Why does the silk score low on the machine? Why? Why does it score low? It doesn't even seem to register.
Yeah, it scored very low.
It's like whatever is going on with silk, it cancels any positive charge out, positive frequency. So it's almost like neutral, completely neutral.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not bad to wear, but it's just neutral. Okay. How about hemp? Compared to organic cotton, where does hemp score?
Hemp, what is the hemp score is very high.
Okay, because it wasn't tested to my knowledge. So is it also resonating with the human body on the same level like cotton is?
Is it on the same level as cotton? It's pretty up there with cotton, yes. So
Okay.
hemp would probably be a very close second.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so that sounds like organic cotton and hemp is what you want to go for if you're trying to be optimal. Okay, let's look at some of the things that we all wear, unfortunately, like rayon, like polyester, spandex, lycra, nylon. According to the machine, they all registered at a 0, indicating no beneficial frequency. So let's first ask, is there any artificial um, fabric that we use that's beneficial?
Is there any artificial fabric that we use that's beneficial? Absolutely not.
Okay, so all right. Okay, so from other sources, I know that there's that's been going around that a lot of polyester and spandex, and I believe lycra, maybe, just off of memory, it's being linked to hormone disruption, actually, because a lot of these are made with plastics material, like recycled plastic materials. So we all know
Hmm.
how bad plastic is. So apparently, over time it can leach into our skin because our skin is the largest organ. So can we ask Mayo and Ho, like, how bad is it to wear these? Is it like destroying our hormones to some level? And how great of a impact is it having on us?
Is the synthetic being, does that like leach into the, or seep into the skin? It can, yes, it can.
Now, is that maybe after we put it in the dryer, or is it just everyday use, it's leaking in.
Is that after we put it in the dryer? No, it's if you wear it without first washing it thoroughly.
Oh, okay. What would be recommended? How many times do we need to wash it on average to get rid of this stuff?
5 times.
Okay. Well, there you go. You're gonna run
You
up the
know,
electricity bill a little bit.
yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? I don't know what it is, but I usually wash clothes before I wear them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of
Always.
people do. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Okay. I mean, so okay, so let's say we theoretically washed it 5 times. Is there any negative impact from stuff leaching in on like or is it then new, is it okay after that for the most part?
Is it okay after that for the most part? Yes, as long as you wash it, I feel like it's the particles, it's the being in that environment. I tell you, whoever works in these places,
Oh
that,
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're breathing in these microplastics.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. I was actually kind of a little bit worried about this stuff because, it's in all of our, it's something I didn't really think about too much, but it's been just coming across my path more and more. And I thought maybe at some point, maybe after this bull run, I'll get my wardrobe into some more natural, and maybe I still will, and it'd be nice to wear some nice organic cotton stuff. Maybe some nice linen stuff also when it's hot down here. It's very breathable. But anyhow, it's good to know that we can at least wash our clothes 5 times before we dry them to get rid of some of this crap.
Right.
And look like complete, weirdos at first, but that's fine. Okay. So, I didn't expect this to be a really long one. But I think we're gonna transition into just since we're on the topic, we're gonna start talking about we talked about this before, and this is Kirlian photography. And it was developed by the Russians a long time ago. And basically, it was discovered by accident. They had like a slide, for a microscope, and they had some voltage that was connected to the microscope accidentally. And when they were taking pictures of things, they noticed that there was this aura of energy coming off. And we briefly touched on it in a probe before. I'm pretty sure we got that it was legit to some degree. But can we just confirm? Can we ask Maywin Ho, this Kirlian photography that you see on my screen now, is it accurately displaying the biofield or whatever aura, whatever you want to call it, of the said substance that's there?
Is that accurately displaying that? Yes, it is.
Okay, so like the skeptics would say that because there's a voltage going through the slide, that's responsible for this phenomena. Is that untrue?
Because there's a voltage going through slide. Is that response? No.
Okay. Okay, so it just makes this energy visible. So can we ask what it is? What is this phenomenon that we're seeing? Could we classify it as an aura, or is it the biofield? What are we looking at?
Is it an aura? It's the biofield.
Okay, and so looking at this, obviously so usually people will compare, like, okay, we have a cooked tomato and we have a raw tomato, and you can see visually that there's just brighter energy coming off of it. Maybe there's different colors, but it's obviously more vibrant, right? So the different colors that we're seeing and like the spikes, is that giving us a better idea of how much, like, beneficial energy is in there for us to consume? Is that a good way to look at it?
Is it giving us beneficial energy in there to consume? Yeah, it's like the vibrancy, the vibration.
Okay.
Is
So
it the higher or the larger the auric field, for lack of a better word? Auric field is the higher the vibration? Yes.
okay. So there people have different things about eating raw, eating cooked. I mean, there's different benefits to different things. So, the people that say, you should eat some cooked vegetables, the argument is that in certain vegetables, it actually activates certain things to be digested better. But the raw food advocates would be arguing on this side where, yeah, it's going to be more alive. You're eating more energy, like, it's more vibrant, it's more fresh. I think they would take that side of the stance. So can we ask Mei Wen Ho, in her opinion, is there benefits to eating both, or is one more optimal than the other?
Are there benefits to eating both? No, raw is definitely more optimal always. You know,
Okay.
this makes, okay, this is something that I wanted you and I to do, and it's just so happens it's coming up now. I wanted to ask Source what he had in mind for the human body when he made it, right? Did it, because obviously we're still running around here with these genes and the DNA, and a lot of this food that we're having now is not good for us, and it's manifesting itself into all sorts of things. Did you ever, I'm going to ask Source, did you ever anticipate that humans would cook food? Yes. And did you anticipate that they would, and when you say cook food, like, I know that's part of human evolution, but why? Why was it necessary? So Source is saying the obvious answer, which is like bacteria, and it also expanded our consciousness by using cooking, using fire to cook our food. But are is the body made for eating cooked food all of the time? No, no, it's not. See, I knew that. I knew that. And I get so mad at myself, Mr. Photon, because when I eat a predominantly raw food, fruits and vegetables diet, I feel fantastic. My abilities are so, high performing. And yet, when the weather changes and whatever. But so what percentage of our food, I'm asking Source, should we be eating that's raw food? See, I knew it. I knew, this is why I've always wanted to ask this. 95%.
Wow. Okay.
95% of our food should be raw. And
Can I,
not only that, Source is saying, I'm saying how much of that food should be picked that day. See, 100%. This whole thing of we pick and we store and we wrap in plastic and we do this and we transport and we do that, right? That was not how the body or what the body was designed for.
sure. Okay, so there are ways that can preserve live food. For instance, the thing that would come to mind is if you were to make raw sauerkraut, for instance. So you take the raw cabbage, and then you would, put that in the vinegar and do all the things you do to make the the sauerkraut. Technically that's still alive, right? Because it's not been heated, and you have all these new microorganisms that are kind of growing inside there that are beneficial to us. So is that still an example of a way to preserve something, but keep it with this energy intact?
Is there something to preserve it, to keep our energy intact? I mean, yes, it is fermentation. Yes. Um,
Okay.
it is. Uh-huh. And, but what else? Also, I'm like, but that's like, man-made.
What?
And it just, let me run that by again. Um, okay. So the first image I got was freeze dried, but now I've rechecked that and it's like drying. So the
Oh, okay.
drying of food.
So dehydrated.
Um, so dehydrated food, yes. So drying, like hanging food, dehydrated food, it still seems to preserve the food at a high, mineral and a high rate of minerals, a high rate of nutrition, but it
Right. It's
has
still
to be
intact. Yeah.
dried very quickly.
Okay. So
And it
dry.
has to have room to breathe. I'm seeing like drying methods, and I don't know hardly anything about drying food apart from I have had a dehydrator in the past, but that was to make saltfish, if you know what that is. You
Sure,
probably,
yeah. Yeah,
I make my own saltfish. You can't get it here.
yeah,
Um, and I have to do it with a dehydrator because in saltfish, they put so many phosphates and sulfates in it.
yes, yeah.
And oh, it's no. So
Yeah,
if
all
you
the
just,
dried foods have it pretty much if you buy
yeah,
it.
like it's so bizarre. Like, why do they do that?
Yeah, it's a preserving agent. Can we ask, are dehydrators, sufficient at doing this or no?
Yes,
Okay.
dehydrators are sufficient at doing this. So if anybody wants to know how to make saltfish, I just use kosher salt. Put it all over the cod. I use cod only, and I, put it. Actually, you got to put it on something because it'll ruin your I've already ruined a dehydrator doing
Mm,
this. So I put it on like foil, or actually I put it on parchment paper, and you don't want it above like what is it, 110 degrees, Mr. Photon.
mhm.
Um, because if it's over a certain temperature, then it becomes cooked and not raw. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, because if it's too much, then you're just cooking it, right? There's a threshold there you want to cross. Um,
Right.
okay. What about, different, obviously I gotta ask about like freezing things. So, some people argue, oh yeah, if you flash freeze your vegetables, then they still have all the, content there, mineral content there. In this context, though, when we're talking about this energy, would that be negative if you're freezing the food to preserve it?
Would that be, sorry, repeat that question for me.
Like freezing the food, is that going to take away this positive energy?
Every time, let's see, freezing food, does that take away positive energy? No, it doesn't, but I feel it's in the thawing process is what source is saying to me. When
Mm.
it loses liquid, it loses moisture, when
Yeah.
you're thawing something out,
Uh-huh.
that's where you lose a lot of the nutrition.
That
Gosh,
makes
I
sense.
never thought about that.
So how about this then? If you, okay, in order to not lose it, then in the thawing process, should it just go right into where you're cooking? You know what I mean? Like say you were going to defrost some vegetables or meat or something, and instead of like defrosting it in the sink where everything's just kind of like oozing out into the sink, you put it right into the pot you're going to cook in and just let it defrost there.
To the pot that you're going to cook in. Let it it doesn't seem to really make a difference because the liquid, it's like the freezing process separates the liquid from the actual fibrous material. And
Yeah.
so even if you put it in a hot pan, unless it's something where you plan to consume the liquid as well, really a lot of the nutrition, the water will be steamed out.
Okay, gotcha. How about this though? I actually like to freeze fruit and eat it frozen. So I like frozen bananas. I love
Mm,
frozen bananas, and there's certainly like frozen grapes are really good because it's almost like when you freeze it, the sugars almost, I don't know if there's some chemistry that's going on that makes it taste sweeter, changes the flavor a little bit. But what if that's the case? What if I'm eating the frozen fruit like
no,
directly?
that's very beneficial.
Is it beneficial? Like there's a benefit to it, eating frozen fruit?
Is there a benefit to eating frozen fruit? Yes, it slows down the digestion process.
Oh, okay.
It makes you feel full longer
Interesting.
because the body has to really sort of bring it into temperature and then disseminate.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Another thing I want to know, like I make like green smoothies with like, raw, it's not cooked, nothing's cooked. But what I try not to do is like turn the blender on like full blast. And I just kind of like, what do you call pulse it so that
Mm-hmm.
the blade doesn't really like heat up and like hopefully destroy everything as much. So is there a benefit, like first of all, putting like a salad into a smoothie, is that destroying the energy, the positive energy?
Hmm. Does the blade, going, chopping up or blending a smoothie, does that destroy the nutrient? No, it's only, that was a really good question. It's only if you have it going for like several minutes.
Right, right.
Most people, when you're making a smoothie, it doesn't take that long. It probably takes like 10, 20 seconds.
Depending on what you're blending though, some people I know they'll turn it on and walk away because there's just so much stuff in there, and then they do something else, come
Oh,
back and turn it off. So I try
mm.
I don't want to do that ever. Like I'm very careful. I just pulse it because I know that protein powder, there have been studies done that if you leave it too long with the blade, it will denature the proteins and destroy them. So knowing that, I was like, well, should I not do that with the green smoothie? So I've just been careful to do that. So okay, that's good to know. You just don't want to leave it going for too long, and you're fine. Um, Another question that I have is with meat. I'm personally someone that does eat meat. I like to,
Mhm.
get high quality stuff, the best quality that I can. And on this slide here, we're looking at cooked meat, medium rare versus raw meat. So the raw meat's very, very, there's a lot of energy coming off of that. So, there's different cultures. Like for instance, the obvious thing is Japan. They're eating a lot of raw fish, sashimi, right? That's part of their culture. So I want to
Mhm.
know about, it's like, is there a big benefit to eating sashimi for fish?
Is there a big benefit to eating? Yes, hugely beneficial.
And I've actually, where I am, I'm very close to the ocean, so and I'm able to get fresh fish. And I have actually been eating quite a lot of sashimi myself since I've been here, just because it's so cheap and it's plentiful. I do like sushi, but I've just been just trying different fish, eating it raw. I enjoy that personally. So okay, so here's the thing though. I do freeze the fish first because I've heard that like you can get rid of parasites and stuff like that by freezing it. At least that's what the Japanese do for their sushi. So am I negatively affecting the quality of the energy by freezing it first?
It's more beneficial to freeze it than to possibly consume the alternative.
Like straight out of the ocean.
Right, because that's actually very dangerous from parasites and very dangerous all the way around. That'll make you sick. But what Mei Wen Ho is saying, the freezing, it is excellent for you to eat, but the freezing is a necessary. It's a necessity.
Okay, I have been doing that at all times. Okay. And did the Japanese are known for their longevity, like it's one of the blue zones. Is their consumption of raw fish, is that like benefiting their longevity?
Is that benefiting their longevity? It is because they're getting it in its most optimal nutrient dense form,
Okay.
right? It's the cooking that obviously changes the chemistry in food. A lot of nutrients are lost in the cooking process. And so how they do it is actually very optimal, she's saying. They
Okay.
also don't I'm getting like they don't consume large portions.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. What about then like red meat? So obviously I think we're looking at, it doesn't say, but I'm assuming that what we're looking at here is a piece of red meat. Um, so consuming raw, steak, and there are people that do that, for sure. Is that as beneficial as the raw fish?
Consuming raw steak is that as beneficial as consuming raw fish. It is. It is. I mean, obviously, it needs to go through some sort of process to make sure you're not, harming yourself or potential dangers.
Yes. Yeah, like
Um,
you want to do it with ground beef. because that's probably the most dangerous way to do it. But okay. What if you were to like just, I guess they're talking about a meat. This one's medium rare, but what if you were just to like the outside, you just kind of sear the outside, so the outside cooked, but the inside's raw, basically, like, you know, a blue steak. Is that less beneficial, or than the, you know, that might be a little bit more palatable for some people?
That less beneficial. Is that like a blue steak or you know, slightly cooked steak, is that beneficial? I mean, it is, but again, I'm getting this is only in very, very small quantities.
Gotcha.
Let's ask this question. The amount of food that we eat now, portions and plates, were we eating that same amount as early humans? Oh, nowhere even close to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Did we have any overweight humans, early humans? No, they ate very minimally.
Yeah. Yeah, they had probably were in a calorie deficit most of the time.
Were they in a calorie deficit? Absolutely. Most of the time, they were in a calorie deficit. Their bodies ran optimally,
Right. Okay.
and they were always moving.
Yeah, always moving. Well, that's what I mean. That's why they were in a calorie deficit, because they're always moving. There was, you know, I guess once in a while they would feast because they would, you know, something would happen. They'd find a huge thing of honey or whatever it is, you know, or they'd have a big animal that they've caught all at once, and maybe they didn't have the way to preserve it, so you just eat it as much as you can, right? So, but most of the time that was not the case. That was not a case often, probably.
Did they eat a lot of meat? No, it was very rare that they ate meat. The meat was like a treat. And as did humans, the first humans, were they here during a cold climate? No, the climate was very hot. So therefore, they didn't need to load up on the protein, load up on the meat. And when
Mm,
did they start migrating to colder areas? Is that when the cooking and yes, so as they started to migrate out from one spot, which was very warm, very hot, that's when this whole idea of cooking, heating food came about.
gotcha. That makes sense for several reasons. Obviously, to heat the food, to cook it, to preserve it, but also when you eat animal protein, it's very high in another amino acid called tyrosine, however you say it. And it actually, if you eat enough of it, it will warm you up. You will feel warm. You can take, I've mentioned this before, I think on here before, you can take the specific amino acid in pill form. If you take enough of it, you will be heated up from the inside. Like you'll feel it. It's really quite strange. So there's, I guess that's also a reason why as well. We knew that. Um, okay. I didn't want to make this too long. So I think we answered quite a lot. Is there anything else that you want to know, Liz, around this?
I would love to do a whole like probe at some point, maybe if you and the group can put it together about, you know, how we are supposed to eat. Because it's like a minefield. We're trying to, should we be eating this? Should we be eating that? This is
Yeah,
bad for you. I want to know if we went back to how early humans ate, what would our bodies be like? What would they do? Would we be deficient? Because again, back then they weren't eating much, and of course, the earth was plentiful and the nutrients weren't stripped from the food.
that's
Is it
correct.
that
Yeah.
we're eating more food now because we're so nutrient deficient? I mean, those are the types of questions I would love to get answered. Now, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Photon. I had some old like flower boxes knocking around. I said, you know what? I'm going to put these to good use because this is a constant war in my house. What are you going to do with those flower boxes? Every year I say I'm going to do something. Anyway, this year and only recently, I've started planting things to make microgreens.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if I can like keep this up? Because I'm trying to teach my children about microgreens.
Yeah, I think you totally can throughout the seasons because you can grow them inside, you can grow them outside. You can get little kits to put them in like cups to grow them inside. So you should be able to do it.
I actually have, and very cheaply, so with these little tops that I found that go on top of it, right? So now I've made like a little greenhouse over my flower boxes, and I'm growing these microgreens, and I'm teaching my kids, like the broccoli sprouts and the Brussels sprouts and celery microgreens and all that. And I want to make a big salad out of it, but I want to see if over time, if we can keep this up, does our health improve? Because we've got to get the nutrients from somewhere. And it just doesn't seem that regular grocery store food is doing it for us.
No, you'd have to, if you're only eating that, you're gonna have to heavily supplement probably on top of that with something else. So this is one way to do that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I would love to do a thing on microgreens, and I'd love to do a thing on what source or how source thinks that we should be eating now.
Okay, yeah, I'd do that. Let's do it. So we'll take some
Oh,
questions
great.
from Patreon. So if you want to become a Patreon member and submit your questions for this probe and others, you need to become a member so you can see all the other videos. We didn't do a part 2 to this video. I just want to put this one out there. I didn't think it would be very long. Yeah, we usually do a part 2. So if you want to see all the other videos, get on the Discord, ask questions, see all the stuff we're doing there, participate in our CTT group every Monday morning, which is probably the best thing you could probably do for yourself and your family. You need to become a member. So how do they do that, Liz?
Go to patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I have a tip jar if you feel generous. And I also give consults for health and for cryptocurrency and all that. So get a hold of me at my email, digitalfreedomtactics@protonmail.com.
Great. And thank you so much. I love these probes, Mr. Photon. Thank you.
Thank you.